Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. And welcome back, everybody, I guess, to more Crystal Project. So, there is currently no timer on screen, because honestly at this point it would be rather inaccurate, I would say, because I've done a lot of testing and attempts offline, and I've kind of come up with a different strategy than we left off last time with, where we had like a 0.68% chance to succeed. This one here is a bit different. It probably potentially can still be refined a little bit, so I don't know. Either way. So, the way this works is the current strategy is as follows. We have a Reaper as a main class, which converts 40% of physical damage dealt into temporary maximum HP, half of which we lose every turn. So basically, this is how we survive in the long run, getting a ton of maximum HP. We have time magic for, well, speed shenanigans, because turns out that's one of the most important parts about the fight. Our weapon is a lifeline, which gives us minus 30% maximum HP. It has really good attack and 25% physical lifesteal. While we gain temporary max HP from the Reaper, we actually don't gain that HP, it's just max. So the lifeline actually makes sure that we have enough HP on top of that. Then we have a dueling shield. The main purpose of this shield is that we actually counterattack, and this actually is a secondary counterattack to the regular counterattack. Each individual instance of counterattack stacks, so we actually are going to counterattack twice with the passive and the dueling shield. Then we have a cross helm. The cross helm gives us 35% more physical damage for one turn, which the one turn where we want to have that power up, and is also the reason as to why we went with offensive strategy before. Well, the one turn is not at the beginning, unfortunately, but thanks to time magic shenanigans we can actually extend that one turn. Then we have the Valkyrie mail. It's good defense and gives us permanent region status. That is initially quite a bit of survivability, and later in the fight it will counteract Talon's... what's the word? It will counteract Talon's bleed damage, so to speak, which is kind of a big deal, because, well, that bleed damage just stacks up quite tremendously. Then we have the Undead Ring, which gives us the Undead buff at the beginning of battle, which means we deal 35% more physical damage, take 35% less physical damage, and any direct healing is taken as damage instead. But the healing over time is still perfectly fine. Then we have the Bone Trophy, which actually does basically the same thing as the Undead buff. 35% more physical damage dealt, 35% less physical damage taken, but it's also a stance, so we can't just easily choose another, like, Berserker stance from a warrior to add to this, because it's gonna replace the stance. And there's also minus 50% maximum HP. But these are basically the two best accessories for raw damage. And this is kind of why we need the Reaper. With these two accessories and the Lifeline Sword, we have so little maximum HP that we just barely survive. And speaking of barely surviving, for passives we have Counter, naturally to both stay alive and also deal some damage. Safeguard to, well, take less direct damage from our opposition, which basically gives us an additional 35% less damage taken from whatever source that is direct damage. Equip Shield, because a Reaper cannot by default equip a shield, which is kind of a shame. And Perfect Vision. As long as we have over 80% chance to hit, we will always hit, which unfortunately is not nearly as good as I hoped it would be, to be honest. Because our chance to hit on Astley herself is actually only like 56%, so this is not gonna kick in against Astley, and this is not gonna kick in against Talon. So yeah, it's unfortunately not as good as I hoped it would be. We might be able to change that up for something else potentially. But Well, this is our current setup, which by the way, you may notice I do not have Stalwart. Currently I have exactly the levels in Beatsmith for maximum HP and speed. As many levels I can get in there in order to literally just with 1 HP survive the first attack that is coming towards us from Chloe. And it's consistent, by the way, she always does the same damage, which is 208 with this current equipment. And well, without perfect vision, what could we take? Actually, I haven't really thought about this too much. Let's see real quick. We could go ahead and... You know, I was just thinking a regenerator would be interesting, purely because we could potentially exchange our armor, but... well... I don't think that's gonna work, really. Perfect dodge, item finder, warmth, oomph. I mean, focus shield could be curious, because we are actually going to be casting quite a bit. Maybe even attack focus. Attack focus could be an interesting alternative, but this is the setup I came up with for now. Beatsmith does have defense strength stat, yes. Also a really good speed, but the main problem I'm running into is just accuracy, which is why I have like, I think 7 levels in Hunter, which is as much as I can get, and the rest has to be Beatsmith for the maximum HP. And speed, of course. Alrighty, as you can see, we just survived the first turn with Stalwart. And without Stalwart, because that's just... well, I tested a bunch. And as you can see, we also hit like a truck thanks to that attack power-up. We're actually gonna cast Quick in the first turn. And the reason why we cast Quick is because this allows us to cast 2 status amp. Each current status has its tick count increased by 1. Which means our attack power-up is gonna get increased by 1. And then with the next quick action, we're gonna actually do the same thing. Because we want to preserve our attack power-up. In order to be able to use it slightly later. There's a different helmet, by the way, that would give us 10% more critical hit chance. But we would not get the attack power up from the buff. I actually tried out the Reaper armor for a moment, because that gives us 3 turns of attack power up buff. And that's also how I kind of realized that I could just use status amp in order to keep that status alive. This is less YOLO than the other strat? Pretty much, yes. Alrighty, so... what we now want to do is we would like to have a rending cut on her that does not critically hit. Ashley needs to stay above 8000 HP, because once she drops below 8000 HP or one of her allies die, she will inevitably just banish us. There's actually been one weird instance where Ashley decided to not banish me, where she was at like 7900 HP. I'm not sure why that happened. Either way, we want to armor her down. For no crit, please. Nice. Alrighty, so this is our opportunity coming up. Ashley is going to attack us, she is going to lose her armor up buff, and we will counterattack, hopefully hitting twice. So now we want as much damage as possible on Ashley with these counterattacks here. 1 miss. And 1 crit hit. So the crit hit is already really good. Then I want to cast Quick, because I need 2 turns in order to defeat Ashley trying to attack here. Chloe, I think, usually prioritizes healing herself, but here we go. Quick takes usually 1 turn until I get my turn. There is the bleed, and this is the beginning of the end, if you will. Because those bleed stacks are pretty brutal. Alrighty, now. Guillotine does 4,700 damage if it crits. Reaping Cut does 4,000 if it hits. So as you can see, our damage output at this point is more than sufficient. The problem will be actually hitting, which we have to hit twice in order for us to win here. Or at least defeat her. If we do hit twice, and at least one of these attacks is a crit, we will actually get past the Astley phase of this encounter. This is basically the perfect setup. Chloe also at the beginning had to use Protect. Turn 1, the first buff she cast must be Protect, because otherwise she would still have Protect here too. So there's kind of a few variables that need to go right, let's put it this way. We could also go Nightfall. Nightfall would add technically enough damage if we crit at least one of the attacks, but I think we've... So by the way, even if I have enough HP, I cannot use Guillotine twice in a row. I do not know why. But yeah, Guillotine would deal 3,000 damage. Reaping Cut 2,628, which actually, if we both hit and none of them crit, yeah, it would not deal enough damage. So we could Guillotine her now. But at this point it starts being important to try and deal damage to Talon. So we have effectively 55% chance at this point to knock out Astley. And she's done. This is kind of how it needs to go. The probability of this working out exactly like this is not too terribly high, but actually it's also not too bad. It's much better than the checkmate critical hit strategy that we had to deal with before. Now, the biggest problem we're running into here is Talon just destroying us. And I want to try and hit him, and this is where I've actually already lost twice offline while attempting this. So let's see how this is gonna go for us. Shadow Cut. Shadow Cut generates no AP, so by default Talon always generates 6 AP at the beginning of the turn, because that's what every character does, you get 6 AP. At 30 he will use Rupture, and actually if I quick attack him twice, this might work out here. Hang on. I'm gonna cast Quick here. Because this gives me an opportunity to hit him twice. So the thing is, in this case, Talon has the Utsuzemi, which is why his evasion is so high. Our chance to hit is really not good on him. But, because he's pretty much guaranteed to use Rending Cut next turn, or Utsuzemi if we miss twice, I'm actually not sure what he is going to prioritize. We hit him once, so he's actually going to guarantee to use Rending Cut. We will survive it, as long as I have enough HP. Even if he crits, I do believe it... We still have armor up too. There is the miss. Talon is going to hit us, but because of how this works out... Oh! Hit Talon, hit Talon, hit Talon! Aw. I think it always hits right if Chloe goes down after the first attack. There's the thing. Alright. Ah, we go quick after Talon. Talon is going to set up Utsuzemi again. Our chance to hit on him are right now 100%. He is going to guaranteed set up Utsuzemi. I was really hoping that I would get quick casted before him. Oh, it cost me 2 turns, not 1. Should I guillotine here? Guillotine cost me 1501 HP. Actually, I might die if I do that. Maybe I should reset up a Rending Cut, so he has armor down for longer. Or go for Reaping Cut, which would deal more damage. It's gonna come down to luck anyways. I think Rending Cut to keep up his armor debuff here. Raid actually is kind of sort of what also is going to keep us alive here. Him attacking us by on average will give us more HP than we lose. And this is where I was considering using the attack focus, so our regular attacks will deal 35% more damage. So I wouldn't have to use Reaping Cut for that, which should almost be the same damage. Actually, I wonder, how much more damage would that be? 1232 times 1.35 is 1662. So it's actually not even close to Reaping Cut, but it would be a decent amount. If we hit one Reaping Cut and we crit one, it would be good. What's your AP? Okay, I may not even want to hit Talon here, because if I hit him right now... That's actually an interesting point. If I hit Talon right now, he will use Rupture on us again. I could haste myself, I could slow him, I could cast Quick. The concern is that Talon may not be the only ones left standing. Does Rewind not remove Rupture debuff? Oh! I never even considered that, Rafair. That might be actually working. That could be actually a key thing if we don't win here. That's a really, really good idea. I never considered that. Rewind. Yeah, status to previous turn values. That could be fantastic to just get rid of the Rupture buff, because if we don't have a Rupture buff, we would actually get the heal over time and we would probably easily win. That's a great idea. Alrighty, so if I hit twice with regular attacks, I will not knock him out. Let's actually calculate. If I do 2 non-critical hits on him with Reaping Cut, I do not win either, because it's about only 4,000. But I can try Guillotine for the last hit. So a regular attack for now, I think, to not... Ooh, not lose HP. That was a crit right there. Raid being still alive really helps us. There's the Rupture. Unfortunately, we already had Rupture. Ooh, that's amazing. Let's... Okay, what I think I should do is Nightfall. Nightfall still gives me HP back from Raid. And if we don't hit... If we hit Talon, he's dead. If we don't hit him, we actually gain HP back thanks to hitting Raid anyways. We didn't hit him. But also one of his Utsuzemi stacks gets removed. Okay, this is where it gets real sketchy. Talon, how much